Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles.
I'm 32 and have been with my wife, Maria, 30, for 8 years and married for 4. We met during our sophomore year of college at a mutual friends party. I was immediately drawn to her confident demeanor and quick wit. Maria was studying business, while I was pursuing engineering, and we quickly bonded over our shared love for outdoor activities and trying new cuisines. Our first date was a disaster. I forgot my wallet and spilled wine on her dress, but Maria laughed it off, and we ended up having a great time walking around campus and talking for hours. From that moment, I knew she was special. As we continued dating, I was impressed by Maria's drive and ambition. She came from a working-class background and was determined to build a successful career. I admired how she balanced her studies with a part-time job and internships. Maria pushed me to step out of my comfort zone, encouraging me to apply for competitive internships and leadership positions in student organizations. After graduation, we both landed great jobs in the city, Maria at a consulting firm and me at an engineering company. We moved in together after a year and got engaged shortly after. Our wedding was small and intimate, with just close friends and family. Maria looked stunning in her simple white dress, and I remember feeling like the luckiest man alive. The first few years of our marriage were incredible. We both advanced in our careers, which allowed us to travel and enjoy life in the city. We had a great group of friends and often hosted dinner parties or game nights at our place. Maria and I communicated well and rarely fought. When we did disagree, we always made an effort to listen to each other and find a compromise. One of the things I loved most about Maria was her independence. We both valued our personal time and hobbies. Maria was into yoga and painting, while I enjoyed playing basketball and working on old cars. We supported each other's interests and maintained a healthy balance between spending time together and pursuing individual passions. Everything changed when my older brother, Alex, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Alex and I had always been incredibly close. He was more than just a brother. He was my best friend, confidant, and role model. Growing up, Alex always looked out for me. He taught me how to ride a bike, helped with my homework, and gave me advice on everything from school to dating. When our parents divorced during my teenage years, Alex became my rock. He was in college at the time, but would call me every day to check in and even came home on weekends to make sure I was okay. Alex was the one who encouraged me to apply to college and helped me move into my dorm. At my wedding, his best man speech brought everyone to tears. Happy tears, of course. Alex's diagnosis hit me like a ton of bricks. He had always been the picture of health, running marathons, eating well, and never smoking. It seemed so unfair. I remember sitting in the doctor's office with him and his wife, Sarah, feeling like the world was falling apart around us. I could barely focus on the words the doctor was saying, my mind reeling with the shock of it all. "Are you okay?" Sarah had asked me, her voice trembling. I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. From that moment, I dedicated as much time as I could to Alex. I drove him to chemo appointments, stayed with him in the hospital, and did my best to keep his spirits up. Every time I saw him, he tried to put on a brave face, but I could tell how much the disease was taking out of him. I was determined to be there for him, no matter what. At first, Maria was supportive. She often came with me to visit Alex and helped Sarah with meals and housework. But as the weeks turned into months, things started to shift. One evening, I was sitting at home after spending the day at the hospital with Alex. Maria was pacing in the kitchen, her arms crossed, clearly upset. "We need to talk," she said, her voice tight. "What's wrong?" I asked, setting down my bag and walking toward her. "I feel like I'm losing you," Maria replied, her frustration evident. "You're always with Alex. You're never here, and when you are, you're checked out. I need you too." I felt a pang of guilt. "I'm trying to balance it, Maria. Alex is really sick. I have to be there for him." "I get it, but it's like you're prioritizing him over me," she shot back, her eyes burning with anger. "We don't even have time for us anymore. You're neglecting our relationship," I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I'm not trying to neglect you. I'm just trying to be there for my brother. You know how much this means to me." "I don't know," she muttered, crossing her arms. "You're never here, James. You're always running off to the hospital or the doctor's office. What about me?" "I'm here now," I said, trying to calm the situation. I just need you to understand. Alex needs me. I'm doing the best I can, but it wasn't enough." Over time, the arguments grew more frequent, usually about my schedule or her feeling neglected. One evening, after a long day of sitting with Alex during chemo, I came home to find Maria in tears. She had been quiet all day, and I could tell something was off. James, I can't keep doing this, she said, her voice breaking. You're never here for me. You don't even notice how much I need you. I'm trying, Maria, I said, my frustration rising. I'm trying to balance everything, but Alex's condition is getting worse. I have to be there for him. Do you understand that? She shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. I don't know how much more I can take. You're so focused on Alex, you've forgotten about me. You're changing, James, and I don't know who you are anymore. I stood there, feeling helpless. I'm not changing. You're putting him before me, she interrupted, her voice cold. You don't get it. I'm supposed to be your priority, not him. I had tried to explain how important it was to be there for Alex, but Maria seemed to resent the time I was spending away from her. She couldn't understand why I was so consumed with my brother's fight, and no matter how hard I tried to balance everything, it wasn't enough. The arguments continued. One evening, after yet another fight about my time with Alex, I sat down with her, feeling defeated. Maria, I know you're upset, I said softly, but Alex's condition is getting worse. I have to be there for him. I can't just walk away from this. I know, she said, her voice quieter now. But I'm scared, James. I feel like I'm losing you. I reached for her hand, my own heart breaking. You're not losing me, Maria. But Alex, he doesn't have much time left. Please try to understand. But she didn't. And as Alex's health deteriorated, the strain on our relationship only grew. I continued to spend as much time with Alex as I could, feeling guilty for not giving Maria the attention she needed. The situation was exhausting, emotionally, physically, mentally. I loved both of them, but it felt like there was never enough of me to go around. I was torn between my loyalty to Alex and my guilt over neglecting Maria, and it was clear that no matter how much I tried, I couldn't make everything work. Despite aggressive treatment, Alex passed away 8 months after his diagnosis. I was completely devastated. Alex had been such a constant in my life, and the thought of a world without him was unimaginable. The loss hit me hard, and I sank into a deep depression. I took a leave of absence from work and spent most of my time at home. Some days, I could barely get out of bed. Everything reminded me of Alex. TV shows we used to watch together, inside jokes we shared, even certain foods he loved. The grief was overwhelming. Maria tried to be supportive at first, but her patience quickly wore thin. She kept trying to get me to snap out of it and return to our normal life. She would plan outings or invite friends over, but I just couldn't bring myself to socialize. Maria seemed to take my behavior personally, accusing me of pushing her away. This went on for about 3 months. I knew it wasn't easy for her, but I was doing my best to process this immense loss. I was seeing a grief counselor and trying to work through my emotions, but healing takes time. As the weeks passed, Maria became more distant and irritable. Then, one day, I received a call from Tony, Alex's best friend since childhood. Tony had always been like another brother to me, and he had been a great support after Alex's death, but this call was different. His voice was hesitant, almost as if he wasn't sure how to start. Hey, James, Tony said, his tone cautious. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I saw something today. Something you might want to know. What's going on? I asked, a sense of unease creeping in. I saw Maria, he said, his voice faltering. She was with another guy. I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to be the one to call you, but I thought you should know. I felt a chill run down my spine. What do you mean, with another guy? She was at a hotel, Tony continued, his words tumbling out quickly. I took a photo. I didn't want to, but I didn't know what else to do. I thought you should see it. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Tony. A photo of Maria, her face unmistakable, in the arms of a man I didn't recognize. The picture was blurry, but clear enough to show them in a passionate embrace, the man's face partially obscured as they walked toward the entrance of a hotel. I sat in stunned silence, staring at the screen. The air around me felt thick, as if I couldn't breathe. How could this be happening? How could Maria, after everything, betray me like this? I'm sorry, James, Tony said quietly through the phone, as if he could sense the shock in my silence. I really didn't want to hurt you. I need to think, I muttered, barely able to process the information. I can't talk right now. I hung up, still staring at the photo. It felt like my entire world was crumbling. I had trusted Maria completely. She was the one person I thought I could rely on, especially after losing Alex. How could she do this to me, especially while I was grieving? For hours, I didn't move from my spot, replaying every moment, every conversation, trying to make sense of it. Had I missed the signs? Did I ignore the red flags? When Maria came home later that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, the photo lying in front of me, the harsh light from the overhead lamp casting shadows across the room. She walked in, her eyes flicking nervously toward me before she said anything. "James," she asked hesitantly, "what's going on? You're home early." I didn't say anything at first. I just pushed the photo across the table toward her. Her face went pale when she saw it. She took a step back, clearly trying to process what she was looking at. "Maria," I said, my voice shaking with anger and betrayal. "What the hell is this?" She looked up at me, her eyes wide, then quickly dropped her gaze. "James, I can explain." "Explain?" I cut her off, my heart pounding in my chest. "How do you explain this? How do you explain being with some guy at a hotel while I'm over there, watching my brother fight for his life?" She swallowed hard, her voice trembling as she spoke. "It's not what you think. Please, let me explain." "Explain?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You're cheating on me, Maria. After everything. After Alex. How could you do this?" "I wasn't cheating on you," she protested, her words rushing out. It's complicated. It wasn't what it looked like." "Then what was it?" I demanded. "You're in a hotel with some guy, about to go into a room with him. What the hell am I supposed to think?" I wasn't myself, okay," she said, her voice breaking. "I was struggling. You were so consumed with Alex, and I felt so alone. I didn't know how to handle everything, James. I was lost. I felt like I was suffocating." "So, you thought that was the answer? You thought cheating was how you deal with things? You couldn't have come to me? You couldn't have talked to me?" "I didn't know how to," she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know how to reach you. You were always with Alex, and I needed someone. I never meant to hurt you." I couldn't process her words. The hurt was too much. "You could have told me you were struggling. I was there for you when Alex was sick, Maria. I was there for you when I should have been grieving myself. And this is what you do." "I'm so sorry," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't mean to hurt you." But her apology felt hollow. It didn't change what she'd done. The betrayal was too deep. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this," I said, my voice raw. "I can't trust you anymore." She stood there, shaking her head, as if she wanted to say something more, but I couldn't listen. The damage was done. All I could feel was the overwhelming weight of the pain and betrayal. Maria finally spoke, her voice trembling. "James, please. It's not what it looks like. I swear. You have to believe me." I shook my head, the anger bubbling up inside me. "Not what it looks like. Maria, you're in a hotel with another man, about to go into a room with him. What do you expect me to think?" She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her eyes welled with tears, and for a moment, I almost felt like I was seeing her as a stranger. She finally broke down, her shoulders shaking. Okay, fine. It's true," she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. "I've been seeing someone for the last 2 months. I didn't know how to tell you. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me." 2 months? I choked out, my voice barely recognizable. "While I was taking care of Alex, while I was grieving my brother, you were with someone else." "I'm sorry, James. I really am," she said, wiping her eyes. "I know it was wrong, but you don't understand. I felt so alone. You were always with him, and I needed you here with me. I needed someone to listen to me, to be there for me. So, you decided to cheat?" I spat, the words bitter in my mouth. "You think that's how you handle feeling lonely? By betraying me?" She flinched at my tone, but she didn't stop. "I never wanted to hurt you, James, but you weren't there. You were so focused on Alex, and I just couldn't deal with it. I felt like I was invisible." I was shaking now, barely able to keep myself together. "So, you thought the answer was to sleep with someone else? You think that's fair to me? That's what you do when your partner is struggling." "I didn't know what else to do," she cried. "You weren't here for me, James. You were so caught up in your brother's illness, and I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. I needed someone to care about me. I deserved that too." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "You think you deserve to cheat on me? You think you deserve that more than I deserved your loyalty, your trust? After everything we've been through, you couldn't come to me? You couldn't tell me you were struggling?" "I know I should have," she whispered, looking down at the floor. "But I felt like you weren't listening to me. I felt like I didn't matter. You could have told me." I shouted, my voice rising in frustration. "I was here. I was with you. You didn't have to do this." I'm sorry, James, she said, tears flowing freely down her face. I really am. I never meant for it to go this far. It was a mistake, I swear. Please, just let me make it right. I shook my head, the pain threatening to swallow me whole. I don't think you understand, Maria. It's not just about the affair. It's about the betrayal. It's about how you made me feel, like I wasn't enough for you. Like my grief didn't matter. She stepped toward me, her hands outstretched. James, please. I love you. I didn't want this to happen. I still want us to be together. Please don't give up on us. I took a deep breath, struggling to keep my composure. No, Maria. I can't do this. I can't live with someone who would do this to me. You destroyed my trust. I can't even look at you the same way. James, please, she begged, her voice cracking. I made a mistake. We can fix this. We can work through it, I swear. I still love you. You mean everything to me. I felt like I was suffocating. No, you don't. You love yourself. You love the idea of being happy, of being fulfilled, but you don't love me. Not the way I loved you. Not the way I needed you to. Her face crumpled as she took a step back. I'm sorry, she whispered again, her voice small and defeated. Please don't leave me. I'm done, I said, my voice steady despite the pain that twisted inside me. I want a divorce, Maria. This is over. Her face went pale, and she reached out, almost pleading. James, no. Don't leave me. I was wrong, please don't go. I turned away from her, feeling numb. I can't forgive you for this. Not after everything. It's over. She sank to the couch, her sobs echoing in the silence that followed. I couldn't look at her anymore. I couldn't stay. The hurt was too much, and I knew deep down that we couldn't come back from this. The next day, Maria bombarded me with calls and texts, desperately trying to explain herself. I stared at my phone, feeling the weight of it all. I didn't want to hear any more of her excuses, but I couldn't ignore it. I picked up the phone when I saw her name. James, please. You have to listen to me. Maria's voice was frantic. I know I hurt you, but you're making a huge mistake. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Maria, what else is there to say? You cheated on me. You betrayed me while I was dealing with Alex's illness. I don't know how you can even try to justify that. James, I'm not justifying it. I'm trying to explain, she said, her voice trembling. You weren't there for me. I needed you, and you were always with Alex. You were emotionally absent, and I felt completely alone. I didn't know how else to cope. Emotionally absent? I repeated, incredulously. Are you serious? I was at the hospital with Alex. I was trying to be there for him while he was fighting for his life. I was grieving, Maria. I was in a hell of my own, and you? I cut myself off, shaking my head. You decided to cheat instead of talking to me about how you were feeling. You didn't come to me for help. You went behind my back. I tried to talk to you, she countered, her voice rising. But you were so caught up in Alex. Every time I tried to say something, you just shut down. I felt like I was invisible. I didn't know what to do anymore. I was shaking with anger now. So, you thought the solution was to sleep with someone else? To throw our entire relationship away? I didn't know what else to do, she cried. I felt like you didn't care about me anymore. I needed affection. I needed attention. I didn't want to be alone. And you weren't there for me. I stared at the phone, my grip tightening. So, you're saying this is my fault? You're blaming me for your decision to cheat? No, I'm not saying it's all your fault, she replied, her voice quieter now, though there was still an edge to it. But I need you to understand how I felt. I felt neglected. I was lonely, James. I felt like I was losing you, and I was scared. That's why I made the choice I did. Lonely? I repeated, incredulously. I was fighting for my brother's life, Maria. I was there for him, and you? I stopped again, realizing the absurdity of the conversation. You don't get to turn this around on me. You don't get to make this my fault. I'm not turning it around, James, she said, sounding exasperated. I'm just trying to make you see where I was coming from. You shut me out when I needed you the most. No, I snapped, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. You shut me out by betraying me. You made a choice. And now you're trying to turn this into my fault? I'm not the one who made that decision, Maria. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost pleading. I'm sorry, James. I know I made a huge mistake. I love you. I never wanted to hurt you. But I need you to understand. I was hurting too, and I didn't know how to handle it. I exhaled sharply, fighting back the tears. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this, Maria. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. James, please, she whispered. Don't give up on us. We can fix this. We can work through it. I shook my head, my voice breaking. I can't. I'm done. You've destroyed everything we had. I can't keep fighting for someone who wasn't willing to fight for me. I'm sorry, she repeated, her voice full of regret. I never meant for any of this to happen. I know, I said, barely able to get the words out. But that doesn't change anything. Goodbye, Maria. I hung up the phone, leaving her voice echoing in the silence that followed. I stared at the screen, still in disbelief. How had I gotten here? How had things unraveled so quickly? Later that night, her texts continued to flood in, each one more desperate than the last. James, I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. Please, just talk to me. We can fix this. You're my everything. I sat on the couch, staring at the messages, feeling the weight of each word. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't let her manipulate me into believing that I was somehow at fault. I couldn't let her turn this around and make me question my own feelings. I wasn't crazy for refusing to reconcile. I wasn't the one who had destroyed everything. I deleted her texts, one by one, and sat in silence, wondering how I would move on from this. It felt like I had lost everything, but I knew, deep down, that I had to let her go. I'm questioning everything now. Part of me is angry at myself for not seeing this coming. Maybe if I had tried harder to balance my time between Alex and Maria, this wouldn't have happened. But then I remind myself that a loving partner would have understood and supported me during such a difficult time. I haven't told many people about Maria's affair yet. I feel embarrassed and don't want to deal with everyone's reactions, but I know I'll need support, especially if I go through with the divorce. The idea of navigating a divorce while still grieving Alex is overwhelming, but I also can't imagine staying with someone who could betray me like this. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice. To clarify a few things, Maria knew how close Alex and I were. She had met him many times and seemed to like him. She was with me at the hospital when he passed away. I never completely shut Maria out during my grieving. We still lived together, had meals together, etc. I just wasn't in the mood for going out or being intimate. Before confronting Maria, I did some digging and discovered that the affair had actually been going on for 4 months, not 2, as she claimed. It started shortly after Alex died. Maria and I didn't have any major relationship issues before this, just normal disagreements, nothing serious. She never expressed feeling neglected until after Alex got sick. I filed for divorce shortly after discovering Maria's affair. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew I could never trust her again after what she did. Maria's reaction to the divorce filing was a mix of anger and desperate pleading. She continued to call and message me constantly, alternating between tearful apologies and accusatory rants. One day, Maria showed up at my office unannounced. She caused a scene in the lobby, crying and begging me to give her another chance. My coworkers were uncomfortable, and I was mortified. I had to have security escort her out. After that incident, I blocked her number for my own sanity. Maria moved out of our house and is now living with her parents. I've stayed in the house, but it feels empty and filled with painful memories. I'm thinking about selling it and finding a new place, but the thought of going through another big life change right now feels overwhelming. Through mutual friends, I heard that Maria has been telling everyone that I emotionally abused her by abandoning her. She claimed I refused to communicate or work on our marriage, leaving her with no choice but to seek comfort elsewhere. Hearing these lies spread about me has been infuriating. Some of our friends have taken sides in the divorce. Most have supported me, but a few have believed Maria's version of events. I've lost a couple of friendships over this, which only adds to the hurt. I'm trying to focus on the people who have stood by me. The divorce proceedings have been difficult. Maria is trying to claim half of everything, including my inheritance from Alex. My lawyer assures me she has no legal right to it, but she's dragging out the process anyway. It feels like a slap in the face that she's trying to profit from my brother's death after betraying me. I've been struggling with depression and trust issues since all of this happened. Some days it's hard to even get out of bed, and I've lost weight because I rarely have an appetite. My performance at work has suffered, but thankfully, my boss has been understanding. One positive development is that I reconnected with an old friend from high school, Olivia. We ran into each other at a coffee shop and ended up talking for a while. Olivia lost her mom to cancer a few years ago, so she really understands what I'm going through with Alex. We've been hanging out as friends, and it's been nice to have someone who truly gets it. Olivia and I have a lot in common that I had forgotten about. We were both on the debate team in high school and share a love for classic movies. Olivia has been introducing me to new music and podcasts, which has been a welcome distraction. She doesn't push me to talk about Maria or the divorce, but she's a good listener whenever I need to vent. When Maria found out I was spending time with Olivia, she completely lost it. She showed up at my house unannounced, screaming that I was a hypocrite for moving on so quickly while vilifying her. She even accused me of having an affair with Olivia, which is absolutely not true. I had to threaten to call the police before she would leave. The whole situation has been a nightmare, but I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm focusing on healing and rediscovering who I am outside of my relationship with Maria. I'm grateful for the support of my family and friends during this tough time. I've been trying to honor Alex's memory in positive ways, making a donation to the cancer center where he was treated and volunteering there when I can. Alex's wife, Sarah, and their kids have been a great source of support. We get together for dinner often, and it's comforting to talk about Alex with people who loved him as much as I did. There are still moments when I miss Maria and the life we had together, but then I remind myself of her betrayal and how she's behaved since. That helps reinforce that ending the marriage is the right decision. I'm not ready to think about dating again yet. The idea of putting myself out there and risking more heartbreak is terrifying. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life and healing from everything that's happened. It's been about 6 months since my divorce was finalized last week, and I'm relieved it's finally over. Maria fought me every step of the way, trying to drag out the process and secure more money. In the end, we split our joint assets 50-50, and she didn't get any of my inheritance from Alex. The day after the divorce was official, Maria showed up at my office again, crying and begging me to reconsider, claiming she had made a terrible mistake and still loved me. I calmly but firmly told her it was over and asked her to leave. She refused, causing a scene until security had to escort her out. It was humiliating, and I ended up taking the rest of the day off work. The next day, my boss called me into his office, and I was worried he might be upset about the disruption. However, he was actually very understanding. He shared that he had gone through a messy divorce years ago and offered me some time off if I needed it. I appreciated his support. On a more positive note, things have been going well with Olivia. What started as a friendship has slowly blossomed into something more, and we've been officially dating for about 2 months now. Olivia is kind, understanding, and patient with me as I work through my trust issues. She encourages me to talk about Alex and never makes me feel guilty for still grieving. Olivia and I have been taking things slow, which I really appreciate. We enjoy cooking meals together, going for long walks, and binge-watching TV shows. She's also been helping me rediscover old hobbies I had neglected during my marriage, like playing guitar and photography. I've also been focusing on myself lately. I joined a gym, started learning guitar, and have been traveling more. It feels great to rediscover who I am as an individual. I even took a solo trip to the mountains, something I'd always wanted to do but Maria wasn't interested in. It was refreshing to spend time alone, reflecting and connecting with nature. Maria continues to badmouth me to anyone who will listen. She's told mutual friends that I'm cold and unfeeling, that I never really loved her, and even suggested that Olivia and I must have been having an affair before our divorce. It's frustrating, but I'm doing my best not to get involved in her drama. I've been spending more time with Alex's family. His kids are growing up so quickly, and it's bittersweet to watch them reach milestones that Alex isn't here to see. We've started a tradition of having Sunday dinners together, sharing stories about Alex, and keeping his memory alive. Last month would have been Alex's birthday, and it was a tough day. But Olivia suggested we do something to honor him, so we organized a small charity run in his name, with proceeds going to cancer research. It felt good to channel my grief into something positive. Overall, I'm in a much better place now than I was a year ago. I still miss Alex deeply, but the pain isn't as raw as it once was. I'm cautiously optimistic about my future with Olivia and proud of myself for standing firm and not letting Maria manipulate me into reconciling. There are still tough days, of course. Sometimes I wake up feeling angry at Maria for throwing away our marriage, and other times I miss the future we had planned together. But I'm learning to sit with those feelings without letting them take over. It's been about a year since my divorce, and life has settled into a new normal. I wanted to share some final thoughts on everything. Olivia and I are still together and going strong. We recently moved in together and adopted a dog. She's been an incredible source of support throughout all of this. I still have moments of insecurity or doubt, but Olivia is always patient and reassuring. Our relationship isn't perfect. We've had our share of disagreements and challenges, but we always make an effort to communicate openly and work through things together. It's refreshing to be with someone who values honesty and mutual respect. A few months ago, I ran into Maria at a mutual friend's wedding. It was awkward, but we managed to be civil. She apologized again for her behavior during our divorce and said she was in therapy, working on herself. I wished her well but made it clear that I wasn't interested in rekindling any kind of relationship, even a friendship. Seeing Maria brought up a mix of emotions. Part of me felt angry all over again, remembering her betrayal and the pain she caused, but I also felt a sense of closure. Talking to her made me realize how much I've grown and healed over the past couple of years. The grief over Alex still comes in waves. Some days are harder than others, especially around his birthday and the anniversary of his death. But I've found healthier ways to cope and honor his memory. I volunteer at the hospital where he was treated, and I've grown closer to his wife and kids. Alex's oldest son, who is now 14, has been struggling lately. He's been acting out at school and dealing with anger issues. I've been spending more time with him, taking him to basketball games and just being there to talk. It feels good to support him the way Alex always supported me. Olivia and I have talked about our future together. We're not in a rush to get married, but we both see this relationship as long-term. We've even discussed the idea of having kids someday, which is something I never thought I'd want after everything that happened with Maria. It's a bit scary to think about opening my heart again, but Olivia makes me feel safe. Work has been going well. I got a promotion a few months ago, which has been both exciting and challenging. The new role involves more travel, which has been an adjustment for Olivia and me, but we're learning how to balance our time together and our personal pursuits. I've also been reconnecting with old hobbies. I joined a local amateur baseball league, something I loved in college but gave up when life got busy. It's been great to get back on the field and meet new people. Olivia comes to my games when she can, cheering me on from the stands. Looking back, I can see how toxic my relationship with Maria had become. Even before the affair, Maria and I had grown apart, but neither of us was brave enough to admit it. While I'll never excuse her actions, I've made peace with what happened and am focused on moving forward. There are still moments when I wonder about the what-ifs. What if Alex hadn't gotten sick? What if I had noticed Maria pulling away sooner? What if I had handled things differently? But I'm learning to let go of those thoughts and focus on the present. I'm not the same person I was when I wrote that first post 2 years ago. The pain and betrayal changed me, but not all of those changes have been negative. I've learned a lot about myself, about resilience, and about what I really want in a partner and in life. To anyone going through something similar, it does get better. Take the time to heal, surround yourself with supportive people, and don't be afraid to start over. You deserve happiness and someone who truly values you. This will be my final update on this journey. Thank you all once again for the kindness and encouragement over the past couple of years. It made all the difference during my darkest times. I'm looking forward to the future, whatever it may bring. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.